Hello and good evening. Today it is Sunday, July 12th, 2020. And for this video today, I will be sharing my thoughts on the tweaks that the Indianapolis Colts have made to their uniforms for the upcoming 2020 NFL season. Now, notice that I said tweaks because thankfully the overall uniform design has been left intact, and rightfully so. The Colts have some of the most beautiful uniforms in the NFL. What they have done, though, is they've added a new secondary logo that will only be on the inside of the collar of their new updated uniforms. And they've also, the other big change, the one significant change they've made to both of their uniforms is the decision to switch their number font up for their old retro font from the 1950s and 60s. Also, the other change that they've made that I do not care for at all is the decision to put a black Nike logo on each of the sleeves of their away white uniform. So those changes to me are more of tweaks. Now, the number font, in my opinion, is a really good tweak. So basically, my brief review before I go into a more detailed look at everything that's been done to the Colts is that overall, I love the new number font. It looks great. I do like it better than the old font, even though I thought the old font was perfectly fine and it looked great. But actually, I feel this new font adds something, and I really, really like it. The only thing I don't like is the black Nike logos on the sleeves of their white jersey. To me, that's not right. They should not be shoehorning black into their identity at all, in my opinion. But I will get into that more as I progress in the video. So without further ado, what I'd like to do is I would like to take a moment to show you guys, you viewers out there, the new secondary logo of the Indianapolis Colts. Notice it's a C, but inside the C is a silhouette of the state of Indiana, which in my opinion is a pretty cool touch. It has the 7 white dots, just like their classic horseshoe logo, which, for the record, those dots are called grommets. So there's 7 of them to match their classic horseshoe logo, which thankfully is not going anywhere. And in my opinion, as a new secondary logo, do I think the Colts needed a new secondary logo? No, I don't. But it is a logo that I don't mind. Now, do I ever want to see it on the Colts jerseys in any capacity? Absolutely not. But for a new secondary logo to make some new merchandise for and whatnot, and to even put on the inside of their collars of their jerseys, which they have done. So this logo will be on the inside of their jersey collars going forward. I can live with this. I actually think this is a decent logo, in my opinion, as something extra, something that will be used more for promotional things, I'm sure, and extra merchandise. But as a new secondary logo, I honestly don't mind it. And thankfully, they are keeping what they are calling their historic logo for throwback and historical campaigns, according to their website. So there's part of me that kind of wonders if maybe at some point we may see another throwback from the Colts. I think that would actually be great if they did do that, to be honest. I did enjoy seeing that one throwback from the 50s, I believe, that they wore about 10 years ago as I'm filming this now. So there is one other change that they have made that I think is actually really good too. So notice this is their old traditional word mark, and this is their new word mark. Personally, between the two, I feel that the new one on the right is a rare case of taking an old idea and putting a new spin on it and actually upgrading it. This is actually a case where I feel that the new word mark is actually a substantial improvement over the old one. Now, the old one I like because it has decades of history, or it has at least a long history of being a part of the Indianapolis Colts identity in some way, shape, or form. But I do like this new word mark. It's clean, it's simple, and I like the look of it better than this one, to be honest. So this is a case where I feel they've actually upgraded on an old idea. And what I mean to say is it's a new idea that I like better than what it's replacing. So on the Colts website, they've got some really good photos showing the changes they've made. So obviously this is their new secondary logo on the inside of the neckline, which I think is actually a decent little touch in my opinion. I think it's cool that they've put it there and nowhere else. So this is the only change that the Colts have made that I absolutely do not like at all. The decision to put a black Nike logo on the sleeves of their white jersey. I'm not a fan of that at all. To me, the Colts are the NFL's royal blue and white team. And I think of them the same way as I think of the Toronto Maple Leafs in the National Hockey League, as being the league's one classic identity that is strictly royal blue and white. I don't like the Colts adding black, and I know some people may disagree, and I respect your opinion if you do, but I just don't agree with this decision. Thankfully, the Colts have left their regular home uniform basically entirely intact, with the exception of the new font. So the old font looked great in my opinion, but I actually I love the look of the retro font, which according to the Colts, they've changed the numbers slightly to honor their rich history, and I respect that. And they will mirror those worn by the team in the 50s and 60s. And I'm going to pull this photo up here just to show you viewers. But this is the Colts Color Rush uniform. I have never been a fan of the Colts wearing monochrome royal blue. But something I honestly did not know until recently in the past 2 or 3 months is that the Color Rush jersey actually did have a difference compared to the regular home royal blue jersey. And that, of course, was the retro number font, eh? So that's something I did not know that the Colts had even done to their Color Rush jersey. And that's something I honestly didn't notice. So now that I see it, I actually really, really like the new font. In fact, I love it. I think it looks great on their jerseys. So the Colts website also shows the new Wordmark on the front of their helmets, the Wordmark decal. The old one was fine, but I honestly feel that the new Wordmark is even better. This is actually a small update that does make a difference, and I'm really a big fan of it, to be quite honest. So basically, the only real change besides the font is the black Nike logo on the sleeves of the white jersey. So I'm going to try to pull up one photo to kind of show those of you watching this video what it will look like. So bear with me for just a moment here. I apologize for the delay. So first off, this is a photo of the home uniform with the updated font and white pants. And personally, I hope they avoid the Color Rush look going forward, because I'm not a fan of monochromatic uniforms for the most part, to be honest. Here is one photo I will show real quick. As you can see, this is their white jersey with the new font. It looks great. And notice the black Nike logo. I'm not a fan of that at all, to be honest. But also notice one other small detail. Notice that the Colts are still retaining the, what I believe is still called the Elite 51 template. Notice that they actually are not going to be switching to the Nike Vapor template. I find that really interesting, and I'd be curious to know why. Is it maybe player preference? Maybe. I don't know, but that's actually something that I found interesting as well. But with the Colts, though, to be honest, if they are going to do something extra, I know there's been some people online saying, I've read comments in different areas of the, or different sites, and I've seen quite a few people surprisingly saying that they would love to see the Colts do a black jersey. And I found that really interesting. Now, actually, something else that is interesting is that the Colts, correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like the Colts actually used to have a bit of gray between their royal blue stripes on their white jersey. That's definitely different. You can definitely tell that there's something different there. Um, I honestly didn't even know that they had done that at one point. I'm glad that they got rid of it, to be honest. But what I want to say here, though, is that if the Colts are going to do anything different besides their classic home and away uniforms, instead of a black uniform, I'd rather see them wear these silver pants with their home uniform for one game a year before ever doing a black uniform of any kind. I mean, do I want the silver pants to come back? Personally, I don't. But I would rather see the Colts wear this uniform with the silver pants once a year over a new black uniform. Now, the New York Jets, when they unveiled their new uniforms, I believe it was this past season that was the first season with the new uniforms. But for the first time in their history, they added a new black alternate. And personally, I didn't feel it was necessary. And I mean, from what I gather, and by the way, for the record, with the black Nike logos on their white jersey, the Colts have said that they've added the new color Anvil Black, because you can't just call it black. You have to give it your own name, I guess. I mean, to me, if you've got black on a jersey, black is black, eh? But I guess to them, it's not. It sounds to me like they're basically using the black Nike logos on their away jersey as a potential test of the waters for a future black uniform. And what bothers me about that is that to me, it would be a total case of black for black's sake. And black has never had anything to do with the Colts uniforms in their history, as far as I know. They've actually, back in the early to mid 50s, they actually had a red uniform early on in their early years as the Baltimore Colts in the 50s. And correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I know they did have a red uniform at some point early in their history, which thankfully they don't have a red uniform anymore. But I've never seen black as a part of their identity. And personally, I'm concerned about them doing a black uniform because, in my opinion, it's just going to be another monochromatic, mediocre black uniform just for the sake of jersey sales. I mean, I know money talks, and that's also a classic AC/DC song, and a great one too, in my opinion. But, just because you can do a black uniform doesn't mean you should. I mean, in my opinion, is anything even sacred anymore? I mean, I've even heard that at one point or another, the Detroit Red Wings of the National Hockey League have considered a black jersey or even adding black to their uniforms at some point or another. To me, that's not right. Now, I understand at one point in their distant past, about 100 years ago, they did actually have one point in their history where there was a bit of black on their jerseys when I believe they were the Detroit Falcons, if I'm not mistaken. But just because you can add black to your identity doesn't mean you should, in my opinion. To me, this is almost like the Maple Leafs if they added black to their Adidas logo on the back of their jerseys. Personally, I don't think it's right. I think this team should continue to honor their tradition of being simply royal blue and white. I mean, if they want to add, I think that all they should add at the most is a throwback. If they want to do something extra once in a while. I mean, even though I'm not a lover of the Colts wearing their royal blue pants with their white jerseys, to be honest, because I prefer the white jersey, white pants, and royal blue contrasting socks. And also, I miss the pair of stripes on the socks as well that they used to have to match the stripes on the shoulders. But I'd rather the Colts even wear their royal blue pants with their white uniform before they bring out a new black uniform. To me, I mean, I respect your opinion if you feel a black uniform would be awesome. Personally, I don't. Now, if the Colts were to do an extra uniform at some point, I'd rather them just bring this design back. This was an old Baltimore Colts throwback from, I believe, the 50s, maybe the 60s. I mean, yeah, the helmet was not the prettiest with the two horseshoe logos on each side of the back part of the helmet stripe. But, they could even make it more of a faux back and put the actual logo on the side of their darker blue retro helmet like they used to once the one helmet rule is most likely canned at the end of this year, so that teams can wear throwbacks again, which I hope it will be the case. But, I think that the Colts are one of those teams that have such a classic identity that at the most they should only do a throwback and nothing else, in my opinion. So I don't know. If they wanted to try something new, maybe they should just, in my opinion, maybe they should just stick to a royal blue jersey that's based off of different elements of their history rather than something new. I mean, this to me is a gorgeous uniform design. I got to be honest, I do miss the pair of stripes on the socks. That would be a cool thing for the Colts to bring back. And I understand modern day jersey cuts, but I do think it would also be really cool if they could somehow find a way to have the white stripes go further down the jerseys again. But with modern day jersey cuts, that's very, very hard for them to do, I'm sure. But as I say that, though, that's one thing I miss about older football uniforms is that they had more room for striping. That's something that I do kind of miss, but I understand why it's not there the same anymore, and it's more truncated, and which is a fancy term for cut off now, because obviously the jerseys are far more form-fitting than ever before, where before they used to be very baggy and loose, as you could see in this old photo here. So another thing I will show that has piqued my interest in recent months is that I've actually seen this on their press conference stand in the past, where it's a blue helmet with their classic horseshoe logo on it. You know, personally, I think that if they did some type of throwback uniform based off of different designs in their past, if they use this helmet style once they're allowed to use more than one helmet, which hopefully is going to be the case by the end of the 2020 NFL season, if the Colts wanted to do a throwback with this helmet style, I would be all for it. But do I want the Colts to do a black for black's sake uniform? No. And personally, I really do hope that the Colts do reconsider their decision to add quote-unquote anvil black. And I do hope that the Colts will just stick to being royal blue and white. And in my opinion, so they should. I mean, you know, I just don't... When teams have decades of established history and such a classic, iconic look like the Colts do, in my opinion, you should just leave it alone. I mean, if you want to add something, at the most, add a throwback or add a special uniform that is based off of different elements of your franchise's history. I would not want to see the Colts do a black uniform personally. And if they did, I would be shocked if it wasn't some new monochromatic color rash style uniform. And yeah, I called it a color rash because I'm really tired of the monochromatic looks that we are now seeing so often in the NFL. But overall, to wrap up this video, personally, I feel that the Indianapolis Colts new number font looks amazing. The black Nike logo on their away jerseys, I'm not a fan of at all. I do wish they would have added the pair of stripes on the socks again like they used to have, but it still looks great the way it is, even though I think that would have been better personally. And I must say, I am a big fan of the new secondary logo, and I have tremendous respect for the Colts for only putting it on the inside of their collars. I think that's actually a really nice little extra touch. And if they do ever do an extra uniform, I hope it's either just a throwback or a special fullback based off of past looks in the franchise's history and not some new black uniform just for the sake of jersey sales. Now, if you do disagree with me on that, I do totally respect your opinion, but I just feel that, you know, you don't mess with a good thing, and you should honor and stick with tradition, in my opinion, when you have such a storied, iconic uniform set like the Indianapolis Colts have had for so many decades now. I hope they leave their uniforms alone. I think the new font is plenty change enough, and it looks great too, in my opinion. But anyways, I would love to hear people's opinions on this video. If you did stick around, I hope you have enjoyed this video. And until my next video, as always, you guys, take care. And of course, as usual, bye for now.